Welcome back, wonderful humans. I'm Danielle and I currently live alone and I'm trying to shift towards healthy meals whilst remaining on a budget. I initially didn't think that I did too good this week, and there are definitely still a few hit and miss moments, but it's actually better than I thought, which, it's always good to see that once you've sort of had the Christmas period. But for Saturday's breakfast, before I left my mum's, I ended up having some of the homemade pate that I made on some crumpets with a couple of easy peelers on the side. Lunch is probably the low light of the week, and I ended up having some of Lidl's equivalent of Pringles. And when I say some, I may or may not mean the entire tube of them. But then for dinner, I ended up just using some leftover turkey and some leftover ham, so having a sandwich situation. So again, not very nutritious, and apart from the oranges, I obviously didn't get any of my five a day in there either. But for the evening, I was feeling a little bit peckish, and I'd picked up some of these Reese's trees, so I did end up having some of those as well. I think they were down to 20 something p in B&M. So, but no, they're gone again. As always, that's why I shouldn't have purchased the things because I end up eating them. But oh well, they were yummy. Sunday's breakfast, I decided to make up some porridge. Did it with a bit of coconut water and some milk, and then I topped it with some kiwis as well. It was super yummy, and it actually worked out quite well, especially putting that coconut water in there helped to blend it together better with the kiwi sort of tropicaliness. For lunch, I decided to do some toast, and I did it with some avocado, tuna, tomato mix with a tiny little bit of mayonnaise in there as well to bring it all together. For dinner, I then had some chicken chipolatas, and I put some of those with some tagliatelle, kind of a carbonara that was sort of an egg mix and everything with some grana padano mixed through here as well. And then I also just topped it with a little bit of chive, which is super yummy actually. It's definitely something I'd do again, and I am very much loving the pasta that I've had for that tagliatelle. It is some of Lidl's deluxe range, but as silly as it sounds, I can actually tell that there is a difference, and I never thought I would be able to. But then for Monday's breakfast, I did end up having a minced pie with some squirty cream as well. Definitely not the healthiest, but I didn't have time before my workday started, so I just grabbed it on my first sort of lunch, my first break. But then for my actual lunch, which annoyingly was nearer to 2 o'clock, I did end up having some easy peelers as well as a couple of slices of toast. But I was still a little bit hungry, and I was sort of short on time for my afternoon break because I only get 15 minutes. So I did end up grabbing some more toast, and I finally finished off that loaf I had as well, which I got that loaf in a Aldi Too Good to Go bag. I wouldn't normally pick up white bread, but because obviously I got it, I wasn't going to let it go to waste. And then for dinner, I used some more of those sausages and did a sort of a tray bake with some sprouts, peppers, potato, a few other things as well. And I did end up having extras of that. I'd made more up, and I was pleased I did because I was still feeling hungry. So I did have some of it later on in the evening again as well. Then for Tuesday's breakfast, I ended up having the last tiger roll that I had hanging around with some low fat soft cheese on it and a banana on the side as well. Again, trying to work through some of the things that I had open on the go, wanting to use up before they went bad. So that was another way for me to do that. And, I wanted to do it before it reached a case of that bread going super stale or something. But then for lunch, I made a tuna and sort of salad mayonnaise mixture. Again, super yummy and crunchy. I was wanting to do it whilst the salad was still nice and crunchy and could be had like this rather than needing to find a way to incorporate it into something. But then in the afternoon, I was doing a little bit of floor walking. So I decided to make myself up a hot chocolate with some more of that squirty cream and some marshmallows as well. That was super nice and warming on a pretty chilly day. Before making for dinner, nothing fancy. I literally just had a mushroom stir fry mix in the fridge, and I did that with a little bit of teriyaki sauce and some ginger. That's all I did. It only took a few minutes, as you can imagine, but it definitely helped to fill the hole. Didn't stop the sweet treat craving though. So I ended up having a little bit of this dark chocolate. When I say a little bit, again, I ended up having too much of it. Didn't finish off. I did have a few too many squares of it for Wednesday. As you can see, I've been doing pretty well about having breakfasts recently, but I was starting work later. I was starting at 10 o'clock, so I did maybe it was 9 o'clock. I think actually I started at 9 o'clock. The reason I'm confused is because I started at 8, 9:30, 9, and 10 o'clock this week. So I did lose track a little bit, but I started at 9. So I did just fry up a couple of eggs and I had that avocado. So obviously I used all of the bread that I had as well. Then for lunch, I had a banana on the side, but I had the rest of that salad with some mayonnaise and some whole grain mustard as well. I figured I'd show it to you before I mixed it all up so you could actually see those different components. But then for dinner, as it was New Year's Eve, I decided to do myself steak, some sweet potato fries, as well as then some broccoli as well. Nothing fancy. I could have obviously done a sauce, but given it was just for me, I wasn't really feeling up to quite that much effort after a work day. Thursday's breakfast, it was obviously New Year's Day, and I decided to finish off that chocolate. I got completely distracted. This was definitely 100% nearer to lunchtime, but I also didn't have anything for lunch. But for dinner, I'd taken out some of the homemade pate that I'd put into the freezer, and I had some of that with some crackers. Obviously, didn't finish all of this off, as you will be able to see for Friday. But yeah, I just sort of had a little bit of that here and there throughout the evening. But then, as I mentioned, for Friday, I did end up having the rest of that patty with some rice cakes and more crackers for breakfast. Probably, obviously, not the healthiest things, but it obviously had quite a lot of protein and sort of iron and goodness in that way. So it at least kept me going. And today was the day that I was starting at 10. So I had plenty of time to eat that before I actually started my day as well. But for lunch, I did just end up grabbing a banana and a couple of cheese thin biscuits or crackers. I obviously have got them to put with some cheese, but I haven't opened the cheese yet. But I wanted something that gave me a bit of crunch. And then for dinner, talking of crunch, I did a garlic and cheese bread, but I topped it with some red pepper and some mushrooms, just give it a bit of added vibrancy and obviously a little bit of nutrition. But as always, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.